Because, I mean, at 6 and 6, we're operating about 85 degrees Celsius.
Wow. And the Bovie's up to 350, you said?
At a setting of 50, you're going to be above 300 degrees Celsius. If you're at about, actually, if you're on 25 coag, you're still about 250.
Okay.
So I find that 6 and 9 is kind of nice. You get the best of both worlds.
So what makes this technology you able to do the same with less heat?
The entire tip
Yeah.
is coated with that TPS or thermal protection shield. Just the periphery is exposed. So smaller surface area means you're driving energy.
Smaller surface area. Okay.
Less energy to a smaller area, less thermal output.
Right.
But it's also a pulsed radio frequency. So essentially what it's doing, it's the water and other ions in the skin, it's generating a plasma field that's a conductive field as you're cutting through. So that's why it's kind of so smooth. It just kind of slides through this very little drag. But I think the smaller surface area, the pulsed radio frequency, and the less thermal output kind of...
Okay. Now, the technology behind the Aquamatis, it's bipolar, and what else does it do that makes it so that you guys, it's selling well and it does pretty well and it does what it does pretty well? Just bipolar works through fluid and
I mean, it just
wider surface area.
It's just the way it. When people ask me what's different about it, it's the way it seals. It does not put a big char plug on a vessel that's going to crack and rebleed. It doesn't allow you. You don't have to clip or tie off. It ligates large intact vessels by shrinking your lumen size down.
Yeah, but it seems like, just talk about the energy, because that's what we're dealing with. We're using energy to alter the tissue. So the way this does it, it seems like it uses less energy because of the fact that it's, well, first of all, there's less energy, but it seems like it's a very wide surface area compared to a Bovie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's just kind of 1 millimeter penetration, broad, low energy, denatures the proteins, and somehow gets it to coagulate and stuff, I guess.
Well, the saline's also cools, but it conducts.
Okay, now so there's saline that goes through here?
Okay. So it has to be...
Okay, got it. I didn't really get that far. So it actually pushes saline. Where does the saline come out of the tip? Just
those two
things?
Yep.
So it just squirts water and then...
It's got a built-in algorithm here. Let's say, for example, I go to 200.
Yeah.
And I go to high flow.
Yeah.
You use it now.
Yeah.
And you'll see there's quite a bit of saline output. The machine knows it's got to put more saline to maintain that 100 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
But let's say I go to 220.
Yeah.
At any given time, this machine's always going to operate at 100 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Your setting is just going to determine how quickly you get there. So if you sit on it at 20, you're going to get it. It just takes long. If you go up to 100 at low flow, it's going to push more flow through because it's maintaining that balance.
Okay, so this actually tells you how much fluid is coming out to the tip, and this, not necessarily the temperature, because it's always going to be at 100.
Power setting and watts.
Power setting and watts.
Yeah, so these two things, these two work together to maintain that 100 degrees Celsius.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like that 170 setting to start, but if you feel like it's a little bit too aggressive, we can always back down to 150. It's just how much time. Some guys use it at 200 in high flow. I like the 170 in low flow just because, and we'll have your assistant maintain suction near the tip. This device, the plasma blade, is really cool too. That people have noted in surgery, it cuts through fat very effectively where the Bovie bogs. It works well in an aqueous environment. It was an acacia last night, a flap.
This was going to ask you, aqueous environment, because a lot of times I'm in there trying to stop the bleeding. If there's a lot of blood, if I have this in my hand and trying to coagulate with the Bovie, you got to have it almost bone dry before you can actually coagulate. This one actually coagulates well.
So there's a little bit of fluid on here. You can see there. And remember, just the tip is exposed here. Just the periphery of the tip's exposed. So your coagulation technique's a little bit different. You kind of paint.
Yeah.
But you see it. There's lots of water, lots of saline there, and it still operates just fine.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was developed for use in eyes, the technology.
Okay.
Well, I was in a flap case yesterday where the doctor was working in a pool of blood, and he's like, well, this is cool because I can coagulate, spot coagulate in the Bovie. You just couldn't do that with that.
Okay, now, at Barnes, they use both of these, or just this?
They use that.
Okay.
I wanted to show you both just to introduce you.
Sure. And at Barnes, how does it work? Do you show up for every case at Barnes, or just some of the cases?
What I would do is get you all set up. make sure you're comfortable. And from there, I just check in on you periodically.
So at Barnes, you don't show up for the cases?
No,
at all?
no. In fact, a lot of times they don't want me to,
Okay.
because
Too many people in the room.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure the staff knows, I mean, it seems like there's more tubing here that they have to be responsible for to make sure, that this is hooked on right, if it's not hooked on right. If there's no water flow, what happens? It just doesn't work.
It just operates at a bipolar setting.
Okay.
So it'll just be like a big bipolar.
Okay.
So what I always tell the staff to do is to, the priority is this: when you're going to throw the bogey off, you need to throw the Aquamanus off because you're going to use it immediately.
Okay.
I would in-service them and tell them exactly how to set it up. I would put my card on here and see if you have any questions. I would plan on attending several cases to get everything started up and make sure you're comfortable before I don't attend.
All right, yeah, get with me as soon as possible, so we can get this for our cases on Tuesday. We got a few more companies throughout the month, but yeah, we're really interested.
Shoot for both devices then?
Yeah, definitely. I like the boat.
We have a different iteration of this. This one's pretty cool because it's a smaller blade. There's one that's called a 4.0. It's more like, it looks quite a bit like a standard bogey. The tip is malleable. It's got a larger footprint. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles like this, and it doesn't have suction on it. This thing produces less smoke anyway.
Yeah.
But if you like this one,
I like that.
okay. I like to just give you some
Okay.
options.
That sounds good.